let's try to summarize what is the connection between the results of the archaeological research and the historical reconstruction of the Babylonian period. The new observations concerning the 6th century BCE in Judah fit well with the biblical account of this period, both with the description of the destruction of Jerusalem and with the description of the days of Gedaliah the son of Ahikam in the short period afterwards. There are some clear clues in the biblical description about the destruction of the border fortresses and cities in the Shephelah, and we already read Jeremiah 34 verse 7, and this information fits well with archaeological data concerning the destruction of these sites, as well as many of the small towns, villages, and hamlets in the region, and the mention of Azekah in Ostracon number 4 from Lachish. The biblical description of the period of the Babylonian destruction in the second book of Kings, chapter 25, and in Jeremiah chapter 37 and chapter 52, focuses, however, on the destruction of Jerusalem and the burning of the centers of government and religious ritual in the city, as well as the burning of, and I'm quoting, all the houses of Jerusalem and every large house, end of quote, and the total destruction of the city walls. The description accords with archaeological finds that were revealed in the excavations in the city of David, the Ophel, and the western hill of Jerusalem. It seems that the beginning of the systematic destruction of Jerusalem, about a month after the king's flight and the surrender of the city, is evidence that this was not a spontaneous deed. It was a considered and conscious political decision, attesting to a strategic decision to obliterate the center of rebellion and to prevent its future rebuilding, so as to eradicate once and for all the seeds of the ferment and instability in Judah. In the same line, the biblical description of the destruction of the kingdom of Judah mentions only the deportation of the populace of Jerusalem and does not mention deportation from other areas in Judah. This description accords with accounts given in the second book of Kings, chapter 25, verse 12, and its parallel description in Jeremiah 39, verse 10, and in Jeremiah 52, verse 16, mentioning, and I'm quoting, the poorest people of the land who were left by Nebuzaradan, the commander of the guard, to be vine dressers and tillers of soil. This is a description deriving from the qualitative, economic, and class-oriented judgment of the elite deported to Babylon towards those who remained in the land, pronounced also in the tendentious summary generalization, and I'm quoting, so Judah was carried away captive out of his land. And this is in second book of Kings 25, verse 21, and also in Jeremiah 52, verse 27. There is only a semantic gap between this attitude towards the question of how many were deported and from where, and how many remained in the land and where, and the attitude towards the same question in the two versions describing the days of Gedaliah the son of Ahikam, the one in the second book of Kings, chapter 25, verses 22 to 26, and the other in Jeremiah chapter 40, verse 7 to Jeremiah 41, verse 18. According to these verses, those who remained in Judah were not, and I'm quoting, the poorest people of the land, end of quote, but rather, quoting, the people who remained in the land of Judah, men, women, from those who were not deported to Babylon, or even a remnant for Judah. They were left under the leadership of Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, to continue the national life of the people in its land, and Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, is the one who left them. In the Greek version, which is in this case seems more reliable, and I'm quoting, children and some of the poorest people of the land, end of quote, are missing from the text. Thus, the text refers only to men and women who were not deported from Judah. There are no details in the biblical description regarding how many people remained in Judah after the destruction of Jerusalem. Since the focus of the description is the deportation of the people from Jerusalem, it is reasonable to assume that the remnant was part of the rural population, especially in the regions around the city. Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, was officially appointed over those who remained in Judah, and this population had a well-defined status and place, probably in the region of Benjamin and the environs of Jerusalem. The events described in the story of Gedaliah's period of rule in Judah are restricted geographically to a specific area around Mitzpah where, and I'm quoting, the land of Judah or the land were mentioned. In the version in Jeremiah chapter 40 and 41, there are the cities around Mitzpah in the land of Judah. These cities include Gibeon, and there is a reference to some people living in a place called Gerut Kimham, which is near Bethlehem. This is the reason and the background to the description of the days of Gedaliah's rule in Mitzpah. Gedaliah demanded the people left in the land and refugees that were in Moab, in Ammon, in Edom, and in all the countries, and returned out of all places where they were scattered in order to join the people that were left in Judah. And I'm quoting, "Dwell in the land, serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you." The conclusion from all the above is that there is an agreement between the biblical description of the days of the destruction and the archaeological finds. The Babylonians dealt harsh blow to the kingdom of Judah, the harshest blow in the history of the kingdom. They destroyed Jerusalem, as well as many of the urban, military, economic, and administrative centers. They deported the king and all the religious, economic, social, and political elite, and Judah lost its independence. From the demographic point of view, based on all the available archaeological data, one can estimate that as a result of the long war and as part of its effect on the outcome, there was an approximately 60% decline in population from about 110,000 people to about 40,000 people. In the light of this clear historical picture and the reasonable agreement between the archaeological data and biblical description, I have one further question. Why is this period so problematic in research with so many different and contrasting opinions? This will be the subject of the next unit in this part.